Hi everybody, my name is Madeeha Rahim-Rasool. I'm also known as Maddy, and welcome to the first introductory episode of my podcast, all about autism. So I wanted to start this first episode and talk a bit about myself, my background, why I'm starting this podcast, but also what you can expect. So firstly, I'm an autism researcher. I have a background professionally in healthcare quality for the last 6 to 7 years. I've had the pleasure of working in various mental health settings, but also spent a year and a half in an acute care setting post-COVID. So whilst I had done some research in autism studies in my undergraduate and my master's, I really became passionate about it when I worked in a forensic mental health setting that cared for those with autism and learning disabilities. A big part of my role was auditing seclusion records and exploring whether we are following the right guidelines, whether the practice is being used appropriately, but also working with a multidisciplinary team to ensure that the documentation was up to standards. So it was also here that I really became passionate about advocating for autistic individuals and making sure they got the right support at the right time in the right settings. I was really fortunate because the leaders that I worked with supported my curiosity, and I started to shadow various professionals to understand how they fitted in with the care of autistic individuals. So I shadowed different professionals, from psychologists to nurses. I spent some time on the wards. I also spent a lot of time with our local autism practitioner, attending some of his trainings too that he did with ward staff. It was quite interesting for me to see how different professionals affected different parts of caring for autistic individuals and those with learning disabilities in this specific setting. So working in these settings, I've seen firsthand how the environment of inpatient mental health settings and inpatient hospital care can affect autistic individuals. The importance of having the right sensory environment, the importance of communication in the right way, and the importance of listening and working together as partners. So whilst I was with this organisation, I got to a point where I wanted to explore different careers. So I went to the local university to find out about their Masters in Nursing programme, to perhaps go down the nursing route. I remember it very clearly. It was very raining, it was stormy, the typical English weather. And we'd gone to the nursing talk. So I'd got the information, we'd listened to the nursing talk, I got all the details that I needed about the course, and we were on our way out, and my partner said, "Oh look, there's a postgraduate psychology team, why don't you go speak to them?" It was an open day at the university, so there were lots of different departments around. I said, no, it's raining, we need to get out of here. It's going to get even more stormy, I don't want to drive in the rain, let's leave. But ultimately, he persuaded me to go speak to them. So I spoke to my current director of studies, and here we are 4 years later. I've passed my PhD Viva, and it was a tough but very enjoyable journey. So my PhD focused on exploring how seclusion and restraint affects autistic individuals in UK mental health settings. It's quite a topical issue and has been in the UK for many years. It's something that we really need to improve on in our mental health care, and I feel it will be soon something that other countries will also start to look at. So from my PhD, I became particularly interested in the way that we use language with autistic individuals and the challenges that hospital life may have for them. So let's get into what my podcast will cover. So this podcast will cover a range of topics, from the most latest research in autism to practical tips for hospitals and healthcare professionals to create a more inclusive environment for autistic individuals. I'll be bringing in experts, other researchers, healthcare professionals, and hopefully some autistic individuals themselves to get that real expert by experience view too. I think it's really important that we involve autistic individuals in everything we do around autism. I want my podcast to be engaging, so I welcome comments, thoughts and suggestions. I have an open door policy in this podcast. My goal with this podcast is simple. I want to create a platform for conversations that matter, and I hope to bring awareness and understanding of autism through the podcast by speaking to various guests, by speaking about my own research and having those discussions openly. More importantly, I want to share research and experiences that can help shape a better, more inclusive world for autistic individuals. Thank you for tuning to this very first episode. I'm excited to be on this journey. Please don't forget to subscribe, and please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn if you'd like to be part of the podcast.